Hi, my name is Fran McLean, and I'm going to be discussing what teachers need to know about teaching writing. There are 5 developmental stages of writing. Our first developmental stage is scribbling and drawing. During this stage, a child or children will use an instrument to explore the empty space that is on a blank sheet of paper. Now, during this time, marks will be made, and they will be random, and they have no particular intent. So this type of writing is not purposeful. During this stage of scribbling and drawing, recursive writing does occur. Recursive writing is the tendency to reuse and repeat certain scribblings or drawings. Now, drawings are used to carry out a message in this stage. Children are beginning to understand that writing is a way that they can communicate meaning. During this stage, it is important to remember that drawing and writing are complementary, but they are not the same. Now we have stage number 2, pre-phonemic stage. During the pre-phonemic stage, children are using real letters, and they are typically capital letters, to represent meaning. Now, these letters are acting as placeholders, and they can be either a syllable or an entire thought. Letters at this stage do not represent their phonemic or sound values. So you will only know the meaning of what a child is writing if you were to ask them to explain it. Now we have the early phonemic stage. During the early phonemic stage, children are using letters still, but now they're using capitalized consonants to represent words. So in this stage, children recognize that letters represent sound values because they are learning their alphabet. So whenever they write, they're using words that are represented by 1 or 2 consonant letters. And these letters that you find them using are usually the beginning or the ending sounds of the word. Now we have letter naming stage. During the letter naming stage, a child is using more than 1 or 2 consonants with at least 1 vowel to represent the spelling of a word. So at this point, children understand that words are made up of phonemes, vowels, and consonants. Now we have our last stage, the transitional stage. Now during this time, writing is produced that looks like the English language, but it's not. It's a mixture of phonetic and conventional spelling. So you may see a child omitting letters because they're not familiar with the elements of phonics at this point. Now we have our 6-trait writing model. Our first trait are ideas and content. During this time, this is focused on the writer's main ideas, the purpose of their writing, and the use of supporting details. So the writer's ideas should be clear, they should be focused, and they should be complete thoughts that are well developed with specific details. Now we have organization. So for organization, you're basically going to be focused on the structure of the writing. So this is going to include the writer's ability to hold central meaning throughout the document. So the writing isn't all over the place. The paper moves really smoothly from beginning to end. Now we have the voice. So voice is based on the writer's expression. So the writer's expression can be related to their style. So is this a formal type of writing? Is it casual, or is it academic? Now the writer's voice is going to be based off of that. So it's important that the writing style is lively and interesting, and that it is appropriate for the audience and the topic at hand. Okay, now we have word choice. So for word choice, it's important that the use of words are appropriate for the topic and the audience. So the author or the writer at this point has to focus their ability on if they're able to convey their intended message and emotion. Okay, now, are they carefully selecting words to bring the correct meaning, or are they just all over the place? Okay, so it's something you're going to look for. Now we have sentence fluency. With sentence fluency, you're just going to focus on the writer's understanding of how language should be structured. So, is there a natural flow when you read it out loud? Okay, so everything with sentence fluency should be focused on, are the sentences smooth? Does everything make sense that's being said? Now we have conventions. With conventions, you're going to focus on the writer's knowledge of spelling. So how's their grammar? How's their punctuation? Are they using capitalization? And how is their penmanship? So you're going to focus on their writing throughout and making sure that things are correct. Our next topic is evidence-based teaching practices. Now, I'm going to discuss 4 at this time. The first teaching practice is to provide time every day for students to write. Now, we know that it's important to have regularly structured writing workshops throughout the day for students to practice their writing. Now, this is something that should be done every day, okay? Now, these writing activities can be done throughout various subjects. So you can do something during science, you can do something during math, you can do something during social studies. Do whatever fits your curriculum. Okay, our second teaching practice that we can use is to teach students to use the writing process for a variety of purposes. So it's really important that you provide explicit instruction about the writing process. Some students may need a refresher, so it's important that you explain their planning or their pre-writing, that you discuss drafting, you go over revising and editing. That helps the students be accountable for what they're doing. Okay, now with this, teaching the writing process and teaching students how to use it correctly is important because it helps with their writing strategies, because it's allowing you to monitor them and to regulate them, and doing this helps improve their writing overall. Okay, now our third teaching practice, we should teach students spelling, handwriting, and keyboarding. Okay, so it's really important that young writers know how to hold a writing instrument. Whenever a young writer knows how to hold a writing instrument correctly, they are able to form their letters correctly. And if you're going around and you notice that some students may be having some issues, that would be the time then to address it so that they can get down that understanding of how to hold the writing instrument. Spelling is important because it helps with their sentence fluency. So that's something that can be focused on. If you have some students who are struggling with their spelling, you can do something as simple as having a dictionary available for them, okay? So that way, as they're sounding out the words, they're able to correctly find them. Now, technology is something that is being used a lot throughout the classroom now. So it's really important that our students are fluent typists. So there are lots of activities that can be done that are not time consuming and that won't interfere with your instruction. A really quick example is something such as like typing.com. That's something that students can get on their self-paced activities, and it helps them with their writing. Okay, and the last teaching practice I want to go over is creating an engaged community of writers. Okay, we know that children learn best when they are engaged. So it's really important that we structure our conversations around the new knowledge and skills they're gaining so that they have an understanding of why they're learning what they're learning. So during this time, it's important that we give our students opportunities to give and receive feedback throughout the writing process, so from beginning to end. We're going to go on to our next topic. Response to intervention. Okay, so we're going to be using Tier 2 writing interventions, okay? So there are two that I'm going to discuss. Okay, our first one is quick writes. So quick writes basically activate a student's prior knowledge. Okay, this promotes a variety of thinking. So students can be reflecting on their prior knowledge. They can be recalling specific information. They can be summarizing some content, or they could be simply just expressing their thoughts, their opinions, their reactions, or even have some questions. Okay, so whenever you do a quick write, it's really important that the first thing that the teacher does is that they pose a question. Okay, that way students are able to respond by writing their thoughts. Okay, now this is a task that should not take very long. I wouldn't take any longer than 10 minutes when doing a quick write. Okay, now we're going to go and discuss POW or PAL plus TREE or tree. Okay, so these are some organizing tools that students can use to help with their writing. Okay, so for POW or PAL, okay, a student's going to pick their idea. So pick my idea. Okay, they're going to organize their notes and their ideas, and they're going to write, and they're going to say more. Okay, now this is a really good self-monitoring strategy that students can use to keep themselves on track when they're going through the learning process and the writing process. Okay, now TREE or tree. Okay, you're going to have the students going to have their topic sentence, some reasons. So they should have 3 or more reasons, and they should examine their ideas and their thoughts, and they should have an ending or their conclusion. Okay, so that's just something really simple that you can have their students your students do. This is something that is going to hold them accountable for their writing process, and this is going to help them in any areas that they may need some extra support in. Okay, now we are going to talk about motivating and engaging students to write. Okay, we know that writing may not be as exciting as reading for some students. So we have got to find some fun ways to do some things and to keep our students engaged, because we know when our students are engaged, they are learning. So I'm going to go over just 4 different things that you can do. Okay, so first one is a write talk. I don't know if you're familiar with a book talk, but a write talk is really similar. For example, like with a book talk, a student will discuss a book that they've read, and they'll give some really good details, but they will not tell you everything about the book. That way, you have to go through and you have to read it yourself to find out what really happened. Okay, now back to write talks. Okay, so this is a process that can be broken up into 4 steps. So what you're going to do for your first step, you're going to ask your students to identify and discuss adults that they admire. Okay, this can be anyone. It could be a family member, it can be a friend, it could be a teacher, it can be a sports figure, anyone. Okay, then you, the teacher, are going to invite adults to give write talks. in your classroom. So what's going to happen is a student, you'll go over some of the people, and then you'll be able to ask the students if they're okay with you asking for their guests to come and talk. Okay, and if they agree, they'll come. Okay, then you're going to ask your students to prepare a list of questions for the guest writer. Okay, now these questions are going to be asked before, during, and after the writer talk. Okay, so they can be a wide variety of questions. Just make sure that they are not so repetitive, so that way the speaker isn't answering the same questions over and over again. Okay, then you're going to use examples from your Write Talk guest to examine aspects of writing that are relevant to your curriculum. So all of this is going to be based off of your curriculum and things that you're doing. Okay, then we have another really cool thing that can be done. It's the use of the school-wide photo library. Okay, so these are going to be photos that are found through our resources provided by the school. Okay, and you're going to be using these photos as prompts. So this is going to be used for like your writing prompts. So you can upload a picture onto like your smartboard, or if you use a projector, you can do that too. Or you can even print out different pictures and give students those so that they have access to them. And you can ask a couple questions, or you can even go as far as having some of the students ask different questions to see what their thoughts are about the picture. Okay, then we can go on to another strategy, author's chair. So with author's chair, students are sharing their writing. Now, before you do this, it's really important that you have established a respectful environment so that all students feel comfortable with this process. Okay, so a couple of things that can be done to prepare your students for this is to create models or routines. Okay, it can be something as simple as developing a procedure where you make sure that students are aware of the roles that they play, so that whenever other students are discussing their writing and sharing, that they're made comfortable. Okay, you can use things such as tokens or popsicle sticks, and these will be similar to them getting turns to ask questions. And once they're gone, they're gone. The students can't do any more talking. Okay. Or you can do something like having an alternative audience. So say you're doing author's chair and you put kids into groups. So you're going to put your students in groups based on what matches their comfort level. Okay, so that way everyone's comfortable, everyone's fine with sharing, everyone gets more comfortable with sharing and are more open with each other. Okay. Oops, missed one. Our fourth one is a fourth way to motivate and engage our students to write is by celebrating their writing achievements. Now, this is something that can be done in your classroom or around your school. Okay, you can do something as simple as finding a special place in your classroom to showcase all of that great work that your students are doing. Or if you want to give that student more praise, you can even do something as simple as inviting other adults within your school to see all of the great work that your students are doing. Okay, now we are going to discuss writing workshop. Okay, now your writing workshop is set up into 4 different phases. Sorry, 5 phases. So, first phase we are going to discuss is phase 1. Now, phase 1 is your teacher sharing time. Now, your teacher sharing time should be about 5 to 10 minutes. You're going to present students with language and experiences through the writing to stimulate their natural thinking. So they're really going to get their brains fired up and working at this time. Then you're going to go to phase 2. Your phase 2 is like your mini lessons. That should be about 5 to 10 minutes as well. You'll have your class discussion about activities. So at this time, you can select activities based on good ideas to write about, or you can have the students gather their reference materials, or you can also have them conduct interviews. Okay. Then you're going to move on to your phase 3, your state of the class. That should also be around 5 to 10 minutes. Now, with this, you, the teacher, will put your students' names in a list, okay? And by each student's name, they are going to fill in the blanks each day. And what they're going to do is they're going to state what they will be doing during their writing process. So they can say something as simple as drafting or editing or publishing, but they have to do something. That way they are responsible for getting that task completed. Okay. Now, this is really a great thing because it can help you with your deadlines, and it also holds the students accountable. Okay. Now we're going to talk about phase 4, workshop activities. Now, this is a longer phase. It's about roughly 30 minutes. So, students are going to be pre-writing, they're going to be working on their drafting, they're going to be revising their writing. Then once they finish with that, they can do some peer conferencing, get some feedback from other people around them. And once all that is done, they will go into editing. Now, the editing can be done either with a teacher or with their peers, just based on what you want to do as a teacher. Okay, and once all of that is done, they will then be preparing for publishing. Okay, then they'll move into their phase 5. Their phase 5 is student sharing time. Now, student sharing time should only be about 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, so this process only occurs when a student's writing has been approved by the teacher after an editing session. So they just can't go off and just like, oh, I'm going to go share with my friend. No, they have to get their writing approved before they can even do this part of the writing workshop. So I'm going to discuss some problems that may arise in a writing workshop. One thing that may happen is that that a lot of teachers see is that students always want a peer conference. All the time. Most of the time, almost all the time. And that should only be done in their phase 4. So that's when they're really close to finishing up their writing. So some things that you can do if this happens is you can establish guidelines for your peer counseling. You can do something as simple as saying you have 1 minute to conference with a partner or a peer if you have any questions about your writing. And you can have timers, or you can even set your own personal timer so that you're aware of what's going on in your class. Now, you can even establish some group etiquette rules. But this is something that should be done early in the school year. So when you use those attention getters, it's something that can be fixed and handled, and you can move on and remain productive. Okay, and you can also use role playing. Now, this will help keep the students focused, and it will help them be aware of what they should be doing and what they're not doing. Okay, then you may also have some issues with like noise levels. That's something that can be addressed quickly, easily. If you need to get the class under control, you can do something as simple as going over your expectations for the writing workshop. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Have a great day.